was these massive catered meals literally next to people who were starving. And it just really never made sense to me from the very first day.
We're back.
Hey,
We're
Zena.
back. Mark's on the side of a mountain. Can you tell?
Yeah, I'm definitely on the side of a ski hill right now, and it's one of those days, right? I'm at Snowbird in Utah, and it's interesting. I mean, the snow's not bad. It's still like, there's all that crazy weather happening all over the U.S. and North America, and like none of it is falling in like the mountains in the west and the southwest.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah.
right. I looked at the satellite map and saw, you know, how the West is just it's a lot warmer than the rest of the country. It's really
Yeah,
weird. So,
it's bony. It's bony. It's interesting. I mean, this was a ski trip booked with my brother a long time ago, so you kind of you get locked in. But yeah, it's amazing though. I always really like any day that I'm able to be on the ski hill is like a true blessing.
it's magical.
My two legs work.
Yeah.
My life enabled me to be here. Yeah, got
Yeah.
warm gloves.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, good. Good for you. Good for
yeah,
getting out there. So I am in balmy Tacoma, Washington. So it's warm here. It's warmer here than it is in Texas. And
yeah.
certainly although, we're looking at, southern US, it's a lot warmer here. And you know, bundle up, folks who are in Eastern Canada and the US. It's
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, it's just climate changing.
oh yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there we
That's
go.
that's the name of the game.
Name of the game. That's why we're doing this. Get the word out. This week, just to give a quick rundown of who we're talking to, we've got the folks from Everyday Action. So this is a nonprofit in Southern California doing food donations. And so you definitely want to listen to this episode. A lot of good insight into starting a nonprofit, how they're growing, and what that entails, and just the sheer determination of these ladies. So
Yeah.
great conversation.
And expanding. I mean, what I love about it is like born in the necessity of rescuing food from the film industry and then expanding that. I mean, there's so many opportunities in food insecurity. Just so many people need help.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it.
Yeah.
Just
Love, love, love to talk to people who
mhm.
are doing it, who are out there really making stuff happen.
Yeah. And even like, I mean, we got great feedback from last week's episode as well
Oh, I
with
know.
Simplifiber. It's just like, yeah, I love the innovation. It doesn't have, I mean, it doesn't have to be just product innovation, but yeah, it's just, there's so much opportunity here for making change happen and
Mm-hmm.
engagement.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you're out there doing anything, let us know, get in touch, like and subscribe. You can get in touch with us through our socials, and definitely the website. And we'd love to hear from you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the tie-in. Today, we are talking with Hillary Cohen and Sam Liu, two Directors Guild of America assistant directors hoping to change the way Hollywood sees food waste. With over a decade of working on film and TV sets, both continually asked why the leftover gourmet food from catering was being put into a dumpster instead of donated. They were always met with the same standard excuse: it's too complicated. Best if we just throw it out. So, in the autumn of 2020, Everyday Action was born, and we are delighted to welcome Hillary and Sam to the tie in.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Hi.
us.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're excited to have you. And this is a topic that we talk a lot about, obviously. And so, yeah, maybe just start us off with how you identified the problem and so what drove you to figure out the solution, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I personally came from independent filmmaking where, there was not gourmet food on the set. It was in Massachusetts and it was very low budget film. And there was, a woman who was making sandwiches for lunch and, snacks or whatever you could bring from your home. And then my first set was, the set of private practice. And there was these massive catered meals literally next to people who were starving. And it just really never made sense to me from the very first day. I was there on set. We had all this food. There was people that were unhoused, like 100 feet, 50 feet away, less than that. And I was just like, this will be so great. We're gonna give all this leftover food to them, and it's so good. And the caterer like threw it all out, and I was like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh well, we'll get sued. And I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, you know. And then I was really busy, trying to make a career in the film business. So it was like 16, 20-hour days there was, for 10 years. And then, in COVID, there was a stop and this whole other story. But during that, I really just heard that like one day and was like, that's so dumb. Like, what do you mean someone's gonna get sued for giving someone a sandwich, And then we like went down the rabbit hole and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and same for me. I had a similar experience. I moved out here to LA and worked in, independent and non-union film while waiting to get into, the union side. And, even with small shoots like that, we had 20 bags of In-N-Out left over from second meal or like 30 pizzas. And, my first place that I lived here was in the dead of Hollywood, just down the street from the Sunset Gower Studios. And, there was a really sweet gentleman who was living in a refrigerator box in a parking lot across the street from my apartment. So I would start sharing with Wilmer as well as like bringing home food for myself because I was poor. I knew the importance of like, keeping that food for myself. And I really saw it with someone else who was nearby. And, same when I got on bigger sets, it was shocking because suddenly we had all of this catering all this beautiful food and I could only take as many containers as we can. We couldn't really like just take it all like independent film. And for me, I just saw that waste and was met with the same response of we'll get sued, it's illegal. And during COVID was really our motivator because it caused our industry to shut down, and it gave us a lot of off time and time to rest and think about things and just be at home with ourselves and our thoughts. And it's really what triggered us to start Everyday Action.
And a big part of Everyday Action is our film industry driver program, which was started from the very beginning. And that is from the same first days because Sam and I were trainees. I know Sam was a production assistant as well. And we did work alongside and were among that demographic and then worked with them our entire career. Production assistants, stand-ins, background artists have been a part of every set I've been on, and they're the most integral part of the set. They're one of the hardest working people on the set, and they're the least paid. It never made sense to me how drastic that pay scale was, that they could barely afford to live in the same city, that everyone else was working in. So Everyday Action was founded to kind of fix those two problems at once, to kind of try to find a gig-based system that could help production assistants, background artists, and now really everyone that's struggling. Unfortunately, we're not like fully funded at the level we want to be, but it was really about solving those two things, hunger and then this wage gap in our business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before we dive into that further, I'm just curious how the two of you met. Like, were you working on the same show or something?
Yes.
We met on set. We both had, really long careers as assistant directors. And I was, what season did you come on and say SLA?
I think 11.
So I guess it was season 11. I'd been there since season 4. And I was the key second at that point. I had many seconds, and we were looking for a new second. And, you spend a lot of time with people on a film set, more than you spend with your family. And I was really tired at this point. I think it was my like 8th year on the show. And I just wanted someone who made me laugh every day. I was like tired and I just wanted someone who was like really fun. And the moment I met Sam, it was like an instant connection. She makes me hysterically laugh every day still. And we just became, like close friends pretty quickly. And then in COVID, she was the first person I thought of when I was like, I really have this cool idea, but it needs to have another assistant director that's as passionate as I am about helping people, but also has like a completely different background and mindset, because Sam and I really complement each other so well, which is why I think Everyday Action has grown as quickly as it has.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for a home. I day played for about 5.5 years. I just was really lucky during, when it was sort of at its busiest. And while that was really great, after a while I was kind of like, I need a home. I don't know about being the guest all the time. And I was, I interviewed with you guys, and it was just a match from the jump. It was really, they matched like my vibe and what I wanted to go to, and it really was a great I think 4 seasons there for me. So yeah, I think what a year in is whenever COVID happened. So we sort of started this really early in our friendship and in our like career together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so did you guys start then working with the catering and craft services on that show? Was
Yeah,
that the
actually, it
pilot?
wasn't our first show. So, everything was shut down. We had this whole idea of
Yeah.
pilot. We kind of built everything waiting for production to come back. There was the very first movie that had reshoots. There was like 3 days of reshoots, and the producer had seen us on a panel that I spoke at for the DGA about mask making, which was like a whole other thing. But instead of talking about mask making, I talked about everyday action. So they ordered like a little bit of extra food to kind of pilot the program. And as you know, ADs are in charge of all the logistics, right? So it's never a not stressful day. I always went to work with like a pit in my stomach. There was always so many things to think about. So here we are, day one, starting everyday action. Sam and I, it's like noon. We didn't wake up at 4 a.m. We're driving to Manhattan Beach. The traffic's nice. And the producer calls us and he's like, all of the COVID tests, like nothing's working out. We're gonna have to cancel the day of shooting. Like all the food's yours. Just come pick it up. And like he hung up. And the two of us just like looked at each other and burst out laughing. And I was like, aren't you so glad that's not your job to solve the COVID test? Like we just to go get to pick up the food.
Yeah.
So like it's been this kind of like release of us of like AD stress and energy of like managing things on like a different level and for a different room. And it's been so like rewarding, fulfilling, all of those things.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was really, for us, it was important to pilot the program ourselves. So we really understood how it worked. It's just like being an AD, you work your way up. There's a reason for it because you learn, what other jobs do and what the lowest in your, in the echelon does, then you know how to manage it from above. So for us, we really wanted to do the first few runs ourselves to see how it would work. We wrote a whole manual before we'd ever even done our first run. And then we realized a lot of it would just go out the window once we started it. But yeah, it was our very first one was just like pick up reshoots. And then we actually had our show sign on as well as Good Trouble. So those were our first few shows that signed up with us. And for us, the caterers really embraced us right away, as well as production. We were really lucky because I think, we speak production, so we make it easy. We always say, like, you give us the call sheet and we do the rest.
And
Yeah.
Say Yes that was really instrumental and Good Trouble in like shaping everyday action because we went through different rounds of eco packaging before we got to World Centric. We were able to see, oh, what happens when a whole tray of soup is donated. Oh, this is what happens when you're in the desert. We were at location every day getting to like go through that process. So like Bruce's Kidding and JR was like such a big part of that. Scott Gimmel, who's still a huge supporter, who is our Heart of Humanity recipient at last year's gala, it let us do really anything we needed to evolve the program. And then it just took off from there because those two sets, really helped. And then our board really helped that as well. We built a board of people who are also in the entertainment business who are also passionate about the same thing. Troy and Belisario, who's one of our founding board members, was a director on the show, was able to get us to a Disney show right off the bat, Good Trouble, and we had a great experience and reallocated their food for their entire rest of their run. And they had like 10-month seasons. It was like insane how long the show went on. It was like, man, this crew works so hard. And it's so hard. It's fun to be on this side of it. Like we pick up the food, but we speak call sheets, we make them. So it's like we get them. I'm like, oh, they're gonna have such a tough day. There's gonna be so much food,
Yeah. 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 Well, it's interesting, knowing production, you probably, you in the intro, I said something about, you hear, excuses for why things can't happen. And what I just, what I just love, and I just, love about what you've done, you know, yes, you heard that, and then you figured out the solution and, worked through what that might look like. And maybe that's just kind of like an 80 personality or something like that, where it's like, okay, I got it. We're going to troubleshoot this until we figure it out. But we hear lots of excuses about lots of different issues, right? And it's kind of one of those like, I'm just so impressed with how you've taken it and then figured out what to do. So just a
Yeah.
little like
Oh, thank you.
over
We
here, I
always joke,
guess.
we're like, if you want something done, like let an AD do it. Like
Yeah,
everyone
exactly.
that we've told like what we do, they're like, oh, of course you're ADs.
Yeah.
I always say we're like high stakes puzzle solvers, and like everyday action at its core actually is just about that. It's inspiring people to just, go for it. When I was a kid, I hated when I wanted to make plans, and my parents would say back to me, that's too complicated. And I was like, but nothing is too complicated because like we have the internet and like planes fly. So like that's way more complicated than like going to the movies. So I don't know why it's so complicated. So like nothing is too complicated. It just is having that moment, that pause to uncomplicate that situation and move forward. And once that's uncomplicated, it's just, at what happens. So everyday action just about inspiring people at their core to go out there and just do something, whether that's in food insecurity, with animals, with the environment, helping, with politics or immigration, whatever your thing is, go out there and help locally. That's really what we all need to do right
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So how did you overcome then this, legal, like, oh well, you're gonna get sued, and then I heard you say something about soup, and I didn't even think about that, right? If you got a huge cauldron of soup, right? How do you divvy that up to different folks? And you said packaging, like, I don't know. Talk us through how you addressed all this stuff, because there are some, it's not just evident to throw a bunch of trays of food on the street or anything.
I think, for us, like from the legal standpoint, we knew that the studios would have that from the jump. So we had our own donation agreement form built and then really like ran it by the studios and let their legal team make the changes they wanted. We've always been open to whatever they want changed in the wording so that we can just get the food. We care more about the food than all the other legalese wording. We want it released to us. So we have that donation agreement form that signs over the liability to us. So we take on that responsibility. On top of that, we actually carry our own liability policy. So it protects our donors so they can't pierce our corporate veil. You can only sue us if
Mhm.
there's any issue. So we take on that liability as a sign of good faith of we're getting these donations and we will take the responsibility. We're fine with that. If that's what it takes, for us, we knew when we first started it was just a non-starter for us. We were like, absolutely. There's no anyone can sue anyone for anything in this country. That's just how it works legally here. And for us, the first question was like, is it worth it? And there was no hesitation of a yes from both of us. So we just knew we needed to figure out how to, protect ourselves and protect our donors and give as much safety nets legally that we could. And that is how most other food recovery orgs operate, as well as now with SB 1383 being, that you have to donate your food. That is part of the process of being compliant is you sign over a donation agreement form. So we just knew that was what the studios would go for in the first place. And most studios actually had their own version as well already. So we've been through a lot of adaptations with them, but we're probably vetted by every studio by now, I think. So
The Good
Cool.
Samaritan also exists across the United States. It protects everyone already.
Mhm.
It was really doing the research and then figuring out, okay, what is a nonprofit? How do we found one? Oh, we need a board. And the packaging was a big learning point. We first, it was in COVID, so a lot of meals were already individually packaged. That was a lot easier for us to start the program because it wasn't buffet style catering. It was everything was individual, salads, everything was all these boxes. So we could just take everything that was already packaged and deliver them directly to the end house. Then as COVID, regulations went away, things went back to catering trays. So then it was like changing our program because you're right, you can't deliver a catering tray to someone on the tent. That's not helpful or useful. So then it was
Mm.
growing, where does our food go further from where we're already delivering it? Our beneficiaries are this large map that we built that are about 45 to 50 organizations across 90-mile areas of outreach. And those are community fridges, shelters, lower bridge housing or bridge housing, all these different places that already feed people who are either struggling themselves with food insecurity or anything in their life where food is also like a helpful avenue for them.
Yeah.
So we built that, and then the packaging, we wanted to have environmental packaging. So we went through like 7 companies that didn't work. A lot of Grubhub, Postmates, Uber Eats, all that food, the box does fall apart by the time you get it, and but you're putting it back on your own plate, right? So it's like, oh, okay, I can like get rid of this and move it. A lot of that stuff doesn't last in hot stuff. Soup, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Beans are like the worst thing for us to reallocate. It always like, seeps through the tray. So World Centric was a company that was presented to us, was I think again like the seventh that we tried, and their products really last. We do our whole Thanksgiving program in them. The box stands for like 3 days in a fridge freezer, so it is really sturdy and it doesn't decompose as the food's in it, and has been really helpful. And it's really just every day we're inventing the plane while flying it. So, some days are really successful and some days they aren't. And that's okay. It's like moving through the issues that we have and just moving forward, because we're just trying to help solve hunger and reduce waste. So it's not that complicated, and it should happen on a global scale because no one in America should be hungry.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of that whole cycle.
Yeah. And that, and for our approach has always been like, we just approach like a problem at a time, like this is going to be the hurdle. So this is how we're going to try to deal with it. And then we just deal with all the issues that come from that. When we were trial and erroring the packaging, we had certain select drivers who knew that they were going to demo these packaging, and it was not always a successful demo. So, we've just really approached it like, there's no way to like succeed without failing. So I think that like as always, I know for me personally, it was like a hurdle for a long time. And I think that people sort of get wrapped up in that. It's very easy to get overwhelmed of like, oh gosh, we have to do this, this, and this. We'll just take it a step at a time and you will figure it out. And I think that's been our biggest approach to, trying to figure out each problem, is just approach each and see, be okay with failing and be okay with things not working out. As ADs, we know the plan is like perfectly made on the pretty call sheet, and then it all goes to the pot when you start shooting. So we're used to having to like pivot and figure out, different places to donate the food, like different, how do we get from point A to point B? It's always, I think people just need to understand, like when you're trying out something new, be okay with failure. It's okay. You can't succeed without failing a bit.
Actually, that's what Sam reminded me. It's like there's many big events that we get, invited to pick up the food from, and Sam and I just show up early. Like there was one that was like 2.5 miles wide, and so I just like we had a booth, and I show up in the morning, and I just walked the whole festival, and sent Sam. I was like, okay, here's the 3 stations. Here's my idea, but if you guys have a different idea, and then she showed up, then the team spread out, and it's just a production,
Yeah.
right? Every day of production there's like, okay, this didn't work, move over here, we got to shoot in 15 minutes, get all the cars, get all the stuff, move, so like that's what we're used to. It's just logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just breaking it down. So the kind of throwaway comment of it's too complicated really is just like, okay, like now, okay, let's start peeling that onion. What do we do? What's each layer? How do we step this out and figure it out? Yeah, I love that. I love that. We've talked a lot about the food piece and like the logistics around that, but I'm really curious about the second prong of your your work, in that the you mentioned at the top like the gig economy piece and putting people to work and that sort of thing. Can you walk us through what that looks like or how you've set that up?
Absolutely. So it's always been a system of send us an email. We'll have a chat about your experience and what you're looking for, and happy to have you join our team. You just have a positive attitude, a driver's license, and a clean driving record, and car insurance. And then we supply all the supplies. It's very similar to any food delivery app. How someone can become, an Uber driver quickly or work for Grubhub. It's the same concept, except it's helping people who need food. So, Sam and I, now Sam runs this program, so she should explain it.
Oh my God. Either way. But for us, we schedule our drivers every day. They send in their availability weekly, and then we place them where we have slots available. So we probably support, I think we said what,
It's
about
like
like,
17
yeah,
drivers
about
right
17
now.
drivers. And that's a really big amount. You know, when we first started, we just first started with some volunteers. And I think we had 2 or 3 paid drivers, and the rest were just volunteers every day. And we would sort of switch people in and out. And now we sort of shuffle in volunteers with our drivers because we have had an expansion in our pickups. Even with the industry sort of squeezing a bit, we've been able to bridge over to, restaurants, some other grocery stores, as well as commercials. Commercials really started to sort of boom, and these different sort of offshoot productions. So we've been really lucky that we've actually had an increase in our pickups, which that increase has increased our need for drivers for our driver program. But when we first started, it was just background actors and production assistants. And because of the squeeze, we decided that we really wanted to open it up to all crew members because, even for us, our show was canceled and went down. So, we've also felt the effects as well. For 3.5 years, we worked full time while doing this. So, for us, we really wanted to make sure that we were trying to impact as much as we are able. For us, I think, with the driver program, it's such a staple and such a, it's the backbone of like what we do because it's our way of not only, reducing food waste and reducing food insecurity, but we're also helping close that wage gap a bit and helping, our own industry in a time that it's really struggling. So we're really proud that we get to do this, and it's one of our favorite pieces of what we do because I think it really sets us a bit apart. Our drivers are specialized. They're used to being around a film set, which not everyone is, and it's really it is a special skill to know when you show up, like, oh, the map was wrong, or oh, the address that oops, I gave you was wrong, and to look for the transportation person or the locations person. So having that special skill is really something that I know a lot of people in the industry sort of struggle when they have to sort of branch out a bit to help supplement. So this is something that can use that skill immediately instead of having to sort of like figure out how to translate it into a different business. You can do it with us.
And the hope and goal is for that program to become financially stable so that it can be a real place that anyone in the business can turn to when they're having a hard time. Our business has been squeezed and contractually reduced so much. And we no longer have many production assistants and background artists because actually, those people in general are getting back to work sooner than people who are in higher positions that take a longer time to get back to work, and it's been hard for everybody. So we have just seen a massive influx of people interested in driving from all different avenues of the business. And while that's very helpful to everyday action because someone in props has so much more knowledge or has all these ideas about a food stylist, it is really sad that our business is in this way, and it is hard. We have so many conversations with people that we're interviewing that are like, I have worked my whole career, like I don't understand like what is happening. And all we can
Mhm.
say is like, we hear you and we relate. Sam and I have not worked on a set ourselves in 2.5 years and have dived in to this effort full time because we wanted to, but also not for a financial reason. So it's been a tough room to be in, and it's something that I really want to push to get fully funded. Like my dream is that like every union, every studio is donating on a large scale to that program so that it's a place that every studio and place can say, hey, if you're struggling for work today, call Everyday Action because we're a gig-based thing, and you're used to showing up on a film set, you're used to going to that whole route. So it's the same concept. You're just only going to the caterer.
And we've been
Right.
lucky. One of the really neat things about our program is it also exposes the drivers, because we're going to different facilities and different organizations that we drop off with who are also grassroots, and sometimes they're looking for employment. We had a full-time driver this last year who actually got a job because of his involvement with us. One of our beneficiaries really loved his attitude and his overall, his professionalism, and he got to bypass some of the experience that's required for that position because of his work with us, which is amazing. And we're so grateful and thankful. It was really tough to lose him. He's one of our best drivers, but at the same time, we're really thankful that it offered that bridge that we didn't even realize, could really be there. And I know that a few of our other people that we've had on a paid position have also been able to, you know, get a few more skills because of their involvement with us, and some volunteers also have gotten jobs because of being involved with us. So we're glad that we're able to sort of provide like a sort of like an undercover networking position. And you just never know who you meet, just like with being on a set.
Mhm.
You never know who you meet with this work that can also help, propel you into a position to have more full-time work.
Yeah, and just you'd mentioned, maybe we'll just touch on it briefly. So you are a 501(c)(3), and so you get donations. Is that how you guys fund the drivers, or is there do the I'm assuming beneficiaries, or do they also donate in? Like, how does it work in this? Because it sounds like this is the thing behind the scenes that's making it all happen.
Well, the Funding River Action has been like a whole endeavor of learning, right? Sam and I never ran our own business before, never mind a nonprofit that reallocates food across 90 miles of outreach. So definitely been something that in the first 30 days charged it all on my credit card, being like, this is somehow going to work out. Then we had a fiscal sponsor from someone in Iowa who like helped us start fundraising money. So then I was able to like, okay, now I'm not in the hole. Now Everyday Action's making a tiny bit of money. I think in our first year, we were able to pay like 2 or 3 drivers. Sam and I were not paid for the first 3 years at all. So all the money all went to drivers. And we were able to grow that, I think, up to $250,000 of funding over like 3 years. And we're growing and growing because it really needs to get to $1 million or more to support the work that we're doing. But where that money comes from is a big network. So it's private donors, people on film sets that are passionate about the work, that know about me and Sam or know about Everyday Action. It comes from foundations like Broadway Cares Fights AIDS or the Annenberg Foundation or the Elevate Foundation. Comes from awards that we've won. We've been, seen on Hero of the Year and a L'Oreal Woman of Worth. All of those things help fund our nonprofit. And then we have events. So we have, 4 or 5 community events. Then we have our big gala that's been an event that we've grown from day one to it's going to be in April. If you're listening,
Wow.
tickets go on sale in like a few weeks. And that is
Yeah.
hopefully fund our nonprofit a fourth of our budget this year, which is something we've been really working towards. We're in year 5, and I'm really focused on building these pillars of support. Everyday Action has grown faster than we can keep up with, and the funding is hard to figure out, but this is the most stable and strong we've ever been, and we're really confident leading into 2026 that the right new people are going to come in and really help put those strong pillars. We've had a big anonymous donor recently that put in a lot of funding for our refrigerator freezer. So the warehouse we're sitting in right now is going to get a whole renovation in the next few months, which is like going to make me emotional because at Everyday Action, we have never been able to open the food up. And we've never been able to like use our skills to the fullest level because Sam and I want to be able to like, oh, you have food service on Tuesday and something on Wednesday and this on Thursday. So we could save the food, repackage it so you could have it. Now we just have to deliver food as we accept it. So this will allow
Mhm.
us to take the food into our own facility at whenever we want, 24/7. And then in the morning, we can repackage it ourselves and then bring it to where we want and just help our beneficiaries more effectively and help smaller grassroots, like more organizations, which is where we really focus on that going. So it's a big portfolio that I'm still growing. So if you're interested in joining it, please give us an email.
Mhm.
And
Totally.
we also ask for a small $50 donation, or more if they would like. But we ask for that as a minimum for per pickup for our shows because we are trying to fund our driver program directly. So we actually have all of those donations. 100% of that goes to our driver program. We only accept it for them and for our program for them. So most of our shows donate. Some pickups don't, but most places are very happy to donate. We started that, I think, about what, 2 years in? We were a couple years in and we realized that we really needed to keep the funding, at least a good like chunk of funding
Mm.
for our drivers. And a way to sort of like make it sort of work itself a bit is to ask for that small
We
donation.
also have been supported by discretionary funding by
Yes.
many discretionary offices across Los Angeles. And some studios do support Everyday Action. They've supported our gala and donate on an annual basis. They still remain camera shy, but there are some very major studios that do support Everyday Action in a very big and meaningful way. And we're just trying to help grow that across every studio. But there are certainly many people in the entertainment business that step up and do help our driver program because that should just be a place that people can go like an unemployment service.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just think about what's coming to LA soon, right? We've got big events like the World Cup and LA 28 and like these kinds of, and I'm sure others, but just like these are big events that are coming with lots of people engaged and lots of
Food waste.
people dealing with food in various ways. And I just think, my gosh, like, this is such an opportunity to, really fund this and, and that way you and others, but, you guys can service like all of this massive growth that's coming, really quickly. So
We're thinking about that. The Olympics is on our goal list. We're trying to get our warehouse fully ready for the Olympics to be able to support. There's a big network of food recovery organizations across Los Angeles that do things similar to Everyday Action, different than Everyday Action. All of us are filling different needs and voids in different neighborhoods. Our hope and goal is to work together as a team, use all of our resources, all of our vehicles, all of our supplies, and work as a team to really reallocate the food for those big events. I do think that if we as a team could do it for the Olympics, that would kind of solve our reallocation across the city, because we would be across that and we could just keep that system going. In Ireland, there's this thing with Food Cloud where they already reallocate the food across the whole country. It's just like a normal thing that happens. There's no one that's hungry in Ireland. It's been solved. Obviously, Ireland is much smaller than Los Angeles and the United States, but it's certainly a system and model to look at. And we're just trying to kind of evolve that system to grow as quickly as possible to support as many in need.
mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And it's all back to your point about logistics. I mean, that's
Just
going
a
to be an
puzzle.
wild time in LA for sure.
Yeah,
Just a puzzle.
I am an Olympic fan, so I'm like looking forward to it, but also like, yeah, it's going to be overwhelming. I know that there's a lot of displacement happening, which
Yeah.
I know is something that needs to be worked through, and we're also, on the front lines of that issue. So there's a lot of things to look at with the Olympics, both positive and negative. And Sam and I know all the food recovery organizations and community organizations really just want to work to make sure that whatever can go back to the community does.
Yes.
Yeah. And are you guys using, is there like a tech platform that you're able to use or leverage? Are you thinking about integrating that? Because I mean, that seems to me like, how are you going to coordinate all these various different groups and people and drivers and all the things?
Well, every food recovery organization kind of has their own internal app that we all have been like slowly designing that helps us, track the weights and where the food goes and where it's picked up from. We are in the final stages of like finishing our internal one. There's also an app called Carrot that exists across the whole United States that helps reallocate food on a massive scale. So we'll come up with something that's, a complement of that system, our own systems that we all have already used, but we are as a team really focused on getting ourselves, lined up and ready for that outreach. And you're right, it does need funding. So if you're interested in helping fund the Olympic endeavor, also give us a call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. So may I just ask, like, what does today look like for you? I mean, like,
Oh, it's
you're
funny.
talking.
Like 20 minutes before we started this interview, my phone went off and I was like, oh my goodness, our pallet jack, it's arriving right now. So it's very exciting. We have never had a big piece of equipment. We have one cargo van. So the pallet jack is kind of like our next big thing. And it got delivered today. So that happened. We have 2 tables of donations, one from Whole Foods and another from a TV show. So we're sorting those where they're going to go. We have Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
The community event with LA Works on Monday. So we're packing our car for that event. Sam scheduled, I think, 20 shows this morning with our team. Like
I
we
saw
are,
3 more to send.
yeah, there's like 20, we're up to like 20 pickups almost
Yeah.
a day because Sam said it's not just film sets. We do like an entire mall. There's grocery stores, events, a lot of commercials.
Yeah.
And yeah, so every day is like a marathon. We spend a lot of time at the warehouse and we also work remotely.
Yeah. And then I'll also fill in, and Hillary as well. Like we'll fill in if there are pickups. that someone can't make and we need to go and pick it up, we will go and get the food ourselves. So there are days where I'm in the van and driving while fielding emails and calls. It's really fun. So every day is different. It's sort of like our own film set too. It's never boring.
And
And
our
there's
teammate
always something
Stephanie
going
is
on.
here. She's helping us get
Yes.
everything organized. So we usually have, because we don't just have our paid drivers, we also rely heavily on volunteers as well. They're on the road driving every day. And we always can use more because we do reallocate food 24/7. So volunteers can help drive or in our warehouse, which is really helpful because now we've started to accept dry goods and we also do lots of mutual aid. So we always need stuff sorted, organized, or cleaned.
Oh, and have we told them about our warehouse? Our warehouse is a shared warehouse space, actually, with 5 other nonprofits. So we are in here and we have like our offices space in one little corner, and then we all share several other areas of the warehouse together, as well as have our own areas of storage. Most other nonprofits are using it as storage. We actually work out of here as well. So that we can also help with, donations that come in.
It's called the Food Insecurity Shared Hub, FISH, and our
Nice.
collaborators are St. Vincent Meals on Wheels, the Community Space Food Bank, SELA, and DePaul, Los Angeles. And the Daughters of Charity are one of our biggest sponsors, and they have made this whole warehouse possible.
They own the place. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, people making shit happen. I love it.
I know, I know. Okay, so tell us where to find you. Tell our listeners where to find you, and I assume that they can get involved through your website or how to contact you, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So, as I said, biggest way to support currently is our upcoming gala. It's on April 18th at One Culver. Tickets will be on sale in the next few weeks. You can find that, where to sign up to volunteer, and how to donate on our website. It's youreverydayaction.org. We also are really active on Instagram. It's at every_day action. And all of our events and everything are posted there. And again, we're always looking for volunteers, not just on sets or picking up food or helping organize, but also online. We also need people to help with fundraising. We have many committees to join and our social media committee. So if there's something you're interested or you're good at online, please give us a shout out. Again, it's our website, youreverydayaction.org.
Yeah, there's a form you can fill out and just say where you want to volunteer, or even if you want to donate as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Solving problems. Woo! Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, Hillary and Sam, thank you so much for talking about, what you're doing and for actually doing it,
Yeah.
because, there's a lot of folks who recognize things and, just don't have the wherewithal or capacity or whatever to actually make it happen. And I really just appreciate all your efforts and what you're doing to help people.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank
and
you
also
guys. It's a pleasure being here and meeting you both.
yeah, thank you. And also look forward to seeing where it grows as well, right? There's
Yeah.
so many opportunities around North America and globally. So
Hopefully you'll see us at the opening ceremony waving some big food recovery flags.
yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? I know.
Or
I
like
would
a
love
big
that.
fork
We're
and
gonna see in the back
spoon costume, mascot costume.
Yes, I like it. Fork and spoon. That's what we'll go as.
The fork and spoon. Okay, yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you as well. Have a
Thanks
great
for
rest of
having
your
us.
day.
Thanks.
Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Social media is by Sharon Ewan. Our editor and producer is Rachel Werbel.